All right, Steve, we're recording. I'm with Council Member Steve Hogan. How are you doing, Steve?
Good. How are you, Barry?
I'm doing well, thank you. Today we are talking about lakes, specifically our three lakes here: Round Lake, Fallen Leaf Lake, and Lacamas Lake. These lakes are in some trouble, and we wanted to kind of talk through what the issues are, what we're doing, and how you guys can help. So I guess to start it off, back in the 1980s, it was determined that the lakes were categorized as eutrophic. And eutrophic means rich in minerals and organic nutrients that promote a proliferation of algae or aquatic plants. And that results in dissolved oxygen. And over time, this is a natural process that lakes go through. However, this movement can be dramatically increased due to activities in for various different reasons. And humans are the ones that kind of create a lot of these reasons that cause a lot of these issues. So currently, just to kind of explain, or just to make sure I'm understanding it correct, Steve, the issue that we have is that there's a lot of contaminants that come off from the houses that get flushed in to the lake, as well as through Lacamas Creek up here. Contaminants get in there. We have some dairy farms and then make them way into the lake. We do have stormwater filters that the HOAs, there's a dozen or so that they maintain to protect it. But ultimately over time, and especially over the last 15 years or so, it's gotten significantly worse. In fact, this last fall or last winter was the first time Lacamas Lake, I believe, went into to algae bloom. Whereas before it was just in the summertime once a year. Now we've gone to twice a year, and Fallen Lake Leaf for the first time now has also gone into algae bloom, which is concerning. And I know that this is something that we've talked about for the last few months. I know that we talked about it this winter as well. And January, you started to kind of take the lead in starting to solve this problem and starting to figure out how we can take care of this lake and get the right people involved, because it is, there's a lot of steps that have to go into it. So I guess, Steve, can you tell us January kind of what the approach was, and then kind of just walk us through to where we're at right now?
Yeah, I would be glad to. In January, we had that winter algae bloom, which is the first time I can remember. I've been here 26 years. That's the first time I can remember a winter algae bloom. The algae blooms usually come in the spring, the summer, or maybe the fall, but the winter, it's a different type of algae bloom. So that concerned me. I started approaching the staff, Public Works Director Steve Wall and Jerry Acheson, and they basically teamed up with the guys at Clark County. The expertise that they have is pretty noted. They did the last studies in 2004 and 2007 of the Lacamas Lake system, and it was a great study, but there's been no follow-up and no funding. And Clark County was in charge of this lake until just recently. So I asked our staff to get with their staff, and they did. They've had several meetings. They're doing it quarterly. And today, you and I had a meeting with the some of the people at Clark County. We had Councilor Medvigi and Councilor Lenz, and we had the the county administrator, Kathleen Otto, and we asked formally to form a group to actually study this and get down to root cause problem solving and do it on a team basis. And they're going to take it up with their council on Monday. If they move it forward, it'll be discussed again on Wednesday for a vote to see if we actually will form a partnership with that, Clark County. In addition to Clark County, when they've met, our staff has met with those guys at Clark County. They've also met with the Department of Health, the Department of Ecology at those meetings, and the Department of Fish and Wildlife have attended. So there's interest in the state and in the county level to find out what's going on at Lacamas Lake and the trio of lakes. So anyway, we're formally trying to get the blessing from the county council that they will help us, and then we'll determine what kind of steps we take to keep it from becoming more eutrophic and having these algae blooms in the future.
And the testing part is a key component for us to understand what the issues are. So I know that we've gone to the Department of Ecology, and this was January. We're put on a waiting list, but that's 3 years out, which is a little concerning with that. And with the testing, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the reason it's out 3 years for those guys is because they want to look at the watershed leading into it, which is all the creeks that come down, all the farms that are involved. They're looking at more than just the lake, and we can't wait that long. We need to take action. We need to start doing something now. So I've contacted state legislators, and I've got from everyone in the 18th district now, we've got a commitment from Senator Ann Rivers, from Brandon Vick, and now Larry Hoff, that they're all going to support us in our efforts to get the state to dedicate people to help us do a study of this lake, do some root cause problem solving, and find out short-term and long-term solutions that'll improve the water quality of these 3 lakes that we have.
Great. And who else are you reaching out to? I know that we're reaching out to WSU as well, or can you talk to some of the other partners?
Yeah, the other ones that we're looking for are the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Natural Resources, WSU. They've got a great science department there, and they've got some expertise that we can tap into. And we're hoping that the high school will get involved too, to do some testing and to coordinate in terms of their science projects to help us on this. And then also we've got both state and federal possibilities, the Army Corps of Engineers. And at the federal level, we would want to go after some grant money to actually figure out if there's a way to deal with this. In the short term versus the long term, there's a long-term problem in this lake that points towards possible cleanup or aeration of the lake that has to take place. We get stormwater runoff from yards that puts a lot of phosphorus and nitrogen into the system, but we also need to get the things that have been in there for 100 years, the occult fire, the lumber mills that burn down around the lake, various other things that have never been dealt with, and they're in there and they're stuck at the bottom of the lake. And all that stuff is deteriorating and causing organic problems. So anyway, that's where we are at this point.
So, thank you as well, Steve, for taking the lead with this and kind of being the point person, I think, for all of these agencies and departments. So it sounds like the next step, it's going to be with the county as well. They're going to be discussing it Monday and then potentially Wednesday. What about people that want to get involved? How can people help? What can we do as well as a community to kind of help make this a priority focus?
First, you can send an email to me or get a hold of me at the city council, but also Steve Wall is taking the lead in this, and Jerry Acheson. Steve's in the public works and Jerry's in the parks and rec. And also we have Judith Lawrence and Alan Ruger that are 2 citizens that are taking an active role and have been involved for 6 months now. And we'll get you hooked up if you contact us.
We'll have all that contact information. We'll put it there in the subject line underneath here. Anything else, Steve, on the lake? Anything else to kind of close us out here?
Well, it's one of the crown jewels of the city, and we have to work on it to reverse the past harm that's been done, and make sure that we're not contributing to making it worse by what we're doing in each house and any activities we have and industries in the city. So there's a lot of work. It'll take a while to reverse this, but I think we're still at a point where we can. So we could use all the help we can get.
Now is the time to do it, and it is going to take some time. However, it's so important. So Steve, I appreciate everything, but we'll keep everyone updated, and maybe we can do another one as well just to see where we're at, and we'll go from there. So thank you very much, Steve, and we'll catch up very soon.
Thank you. Take care.